cloudy tonight. We'll be in the mid-20s. Pretty nice day Tuesday, partly sunny, 35. We do have some snow, inch or two in the forecast for later Wednesday. Might start in the afternoon, Wednesday night, for a couple inches of snow. Friday, just looking ahead in the extended, very cold, will be in the teens and single digits. On Friday, looks like the coldest day of the year to date. We're right at 32. We've been there all morning.
Well, is there snow in the forecast for the next weekend? For this upcoming weekend?
Next weekend?
Well, this week, like Saturday.
Saturday looks good. Sunday there's rain and snow chance.
I think Saturday we got to drive to Grand Rapids for hockey.
Yeah, it's so sunny and 35.
Well, Friday, my son, he ended up in somebody's yard on his way to school. And he called me. It's the call that you never want to get. He's like, Dad, I was in an accident. It's fine. Car's okay. Parker and I are okay. I'm like, all right. And so he's kind of going through it, and I'm like, I said, where are you? What are you doing? And he's like, I slid off the road and hit this mailbox and slid into the yard. The pole was still there, but the top of the mailbox fell off, so I went up and knocked on the door and told the lady that I nailed her mailbox and said, here's my number, here's my name, I got to get me and my brother to school. So I said,
wow.
Yeah, I know.
I would have taken the day off.
Right? So, yeah, no, he did all right.
Just slid off the road?
Yeah, he was in a bit of a rush. They left the house about 10 minutes later than I asked him to. But, it's his first winter ever driving. So,
yeah.
If that's the worst thing that happens in his driving career, I'm all right with
it. You're pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Well, I'm worried about my kid. He took my car. He had hockey in Chelsea yesterday at 3.
Okay.
The blizzard starts at 4.
Yes.
I said, be careful. He sends me a picture from the highway. You can't see a thing.
Holy cats.
I said, just take it slow, buddy.
Yeah.
Please.
I was going to go to his girlfriend's house yesterday afternoon. I went to Polly's and I came back and I'm like, dude, it's getting nasty. Reduced idea. So he decided not to. I am live on Facebook, by the way, so you know.
Okay.
Gotta behave yourself here, Greg.
That's right. It's all Ben today.
Yeah, no Jim today.
All Ben all the time. U.S. Staffing radio program.
Yes, is going to have to go on without Jim this week.
So you had a hockey weekend.
Hockey weekend.
Did you guys win?
We did. So this
Good
was
job.
the second game of our playoffs.
Okay.
And we won 5-0. So we're 2-0 going on to the third playoff game. Not this weekend, but the following weekend. This is the third playoff hockey game. So, yeah, did well.
Good job.
Lumen's team is doing well.
Yeah, 18-2. Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy.
18-2.
Well, Greg, Jim's in Tennessee, so I'm flying solo this week. Unbelievably left me. Just like my wife left for the weekend to Florida. She's coming back today, though.
Okay.
Well, but, what are you going to do? So, to get us started this weekend, I'm going to share a few quick stories on some really bad employees. One guy wrote, a coworker of mine wanted to quit his job, but he wanted to give proper notice, which seems like a very, good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But he wrote his boss and asked his boss how to properly write a 2-week notice. So... well, the ethics are there, probably not the sharpest tool in the shed.
No.
So here's the next one. This employee wrote about a brand new employee starting on her first day. She printed her resume at work. She was updating the information on the job that we'd just given her. It was her first day. Probably not a long-term employee, I'm going to say there. So, and this last one is just, well, it's just incredible. A new employee was hired to work in a factory. In one day, he electrocuted himself, accidentally started a fire, and knocked over a 12-foot scaffold, which he happened to be standing on. A day or so later, he was fired after showing up to work very drunk, stole the boss's truck, did donuts in the parking lot before taking it out. So this is one of those.
Good hire.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of those that, as you would say, you just can't make it up.
No,
you couldn't have imagined that was going to happen. Well, these are some difficult employees for sure, and the topic this week is about how to relate to difficult employees who want to be helpful, but they come off being difficult. We found an article in the Harvard Business Review titled, "Don't Demonize Employees Who Raise Problems." This article was written by Nilofer Merchant just a few weeks ago, and it addresses this problem of how we feel about those difficult employees who always talk about problems or always bring up the negative side of things. Most of us have had employees who we feel ask too many uncomfortable questions in meetings and push back on all the really super smart ideas that we have. So, in fact, too often we tend to demonize these people who are only trying to help us and the company. It's not easy to hear bad news, especially when it's our idea, and it's not comfortable to see our own shortcomings when they bring up these, when they start challenging our ideas. And that's the discomfort that causes us to be defensive, but it also keeps our company from moving forward. So the author of this article provides some suggestions and questions that leaders can ask themselves to keep their emotions in check while also allowing employees to challenge assumptions and the direction of the company. So, Greg, the first suggestion that Nilofer gives here is to take notice of the problem. So you can't just ignore complaints as they come in. Acknowledge that you're uncomfortable with this person that's pushing back on the initiatives or complains about the direction, but the challenge is learning to separate the problem from the person. So, yes, this is maybe a person that brings up challenges all the time, but it's probably a legit challenge. At least you have to vet it as one. So a couple of questions that will help you separate the problem from the person is ask, is this a significant problem? And will this affect the future of the company? Even if it's uncomfortable or aggravating, if the answer is yes to either of these questions, then action absolutely needs to be taken. So the next suggestion that the author gives is define an ongoing process to close out those problems. In other words, like we said, you can't ignore the problem. You got to solve the problems. The new rules for creating value in the marketplace require companies to leap from opportunity to opportunity rather than standing still. So company owners should ask themselves, is there an ongoing process in our company that allows employees and management to address far-reaching issues? So the last step in working with employees who are always bringing up tough problems is to celebrate the agitation instead of demonizing them. And this is really talking about leadership. At the end of the day, leadership is really all about solving problems. And you want a process where people bring those problems to you so you can solve them. And so the question is, you should always be asking yourself this: do I recognize and reward those who bring issues forward that need to be addressed? If that answer is no, then you probably got a bigger problem in your organization. So it's important to see employees as champions and not complainers. So be sure to encourage people when they're bringing problems to you. Because like we said, if people stop bringing the problems to you, then you got a big, big problem. So maybe you're working for a company that is now listening to your suggestions, or maybe even see you as a complainer. If that's you, then it's time to find a new place to work. And if you're an employer who needs some new team members, contact us. There are several ways that you can reach out to us and talk with us. You can find us on Facebook at US Staffing Agency. You can live chat with us at usstaffingagency.com. Or you can come into our location there on 707 North Wisner Street. And the phone number there is 787-6150.
What is this quarter looking like, man?
We started off to a really strong January for sure. the GM strike hindered the third and fourth quarter last year, and as a result, it's made up for a good end of December and start to the new year. So, yeah, it looks strong. So, the economy, I think, overall, maybe a slight tick up, but with our customers, it's looking really good.
Good deal. U.S. Staffing on Wisner.